here we are. We are live with the very first installment of 5 Bullet Friday. Thank you for joining us, to our number one guest out there. And if you're watching on the replay, thank you for watching on the replay. Joining me here in the luxurious studios of WTKI Radio is my bride, Vickie. Hey.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
Long time no see.
For real.
Like a couple hours. The idea behind 5 Bullet Friday is it's Friday afternoon. We're getting ready to head into the weekend. This is a good time to kind of recap the week and hopefully give you a little bit of inspiration and something to think about heading into the weekend. And then, of course, I'm going to have guests, and so give those guests an opportunity to share a little bit of their story, their views, their inputs, their take on the news, and what's going on. So that's the setup. Are you ready to dive in?
Let's go.
As the train goes whistling by. All right. First story I wanted to talk about today. Oh, man. And look, none of these have anything to do with the election. Surprise, surprise. First story is Boeing had good news, good and bad news today. They got approval from the FAA for the repairs that they want to make to their 737 MAX line, which has been grounded for months, even back before the COVID mess started. They were having trouble, so they got grounded. The FAA ruled that the improvements they wanted to make to the airframe were adequate. So my question to you, would
and
you
know
like
how I feel about flying.
Would you like to fly on a plane whose repairs were adequate?
No.
No? You're not a fan of flying anyway.
I'm not a fan of flying. It's very convenient and I do it. But I mean, just when you were talking about that, I was thinking about the people on the flights that lost their lives. And so, no.
Yeah.
That's not good enough for me.
Yeah. It's the thing that kind of triggered me to include this story in the stack today was thinking about our value proposition for a business, right? And is your value proposition, hey, we're adequate? You know, yeah. Is that good enough?
I mean, how does that compare to even how we're reacting with COVID?
Oh.
That doesn't even make sense to me.
Oh, no, they're not supposed to be proportional responses.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, like, we're going very cautious for this. How would you not be very cautious for that?
And maybe it's just an unfortunate choice of words where adequate is the most confidence the FAA will ever put in a design. But I don't know. It just struck me as weak wording. And if I were Boeing and I wanted people to get on my planes so that I could stay in business, I would ask for something other than adequate. Just my 2 cents worth. All right.
Tom.
Yeah.
Tom, I've got a question. You asked Vickie, would you get on a 737 now, MAX, and feel good about flying?
That's for you.
Oh, it's for me?
Or Tom? Both of you, either one of you.
No, I wouldn't.
And she would not want me to. But I also am.
I mean, this is the man that says planes want to fly.
Yes. Planes do want to fly.
He says helicopters want to drop, but planes want to fly. Right. And so
what I want to do is fly in helicopters. I really enjoy flying. I think that by and large, flying is safer than just about any other means of transportation that we have now.
But this particular plane, though.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want to be on the first one.
And thank God for test pilots, right?
But okay. But I mean, seriously, to get an airframe certified, it has to fly, I think it's 1,000 hours without incident. I mean, like without an oil light coming on, without any incident, 1,000 hours. So the test pilot, to your points, out there flying this thing around and around and around, and they can't have any incident. So that this airframe got certified in the first place, something was right. And in all honesty, you look at some of the 747s, the 400 series and younger, they're 25 years old.
Wow.
So, I mean, they're a lot more likely to have problems than the Max. So, yeah, I probably would. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the first one would be the most safe one. I said after 9/11, we had a trip planned to Europe after 9/11, and not long after that. And everybody kept asking if we were still going to go. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go. Are you kidding? It's probably safer to fly now than it's ever been.
Yeah.
It took you 2.5 days to get through security, but
Yeah.
you couldn't get a paper clip through security, So I think this, the first batch, yeah, I think they'll probably be fine.
Not to mention the prices went down considerably.
Yeah. So Jesse, our son-in-law's brother, is coming to visit. He got a flight here. The first one that he looked at, he had a flight from Los Angeles to Nashville for $39.
Good Lord.
So
Yeah.
I have no idea. And in fact, there was a story in the stack about giving some support to airlines. Congress is thinking about that. I'm not a big fan of doing that, but I don't know how they're staying. I don't know how they're doing it.
I don't either.
I mean, American Airlines, last week or 2 weeks ago, American Airlines laid off 19,000 people that had been on furlough. They just made it permanent. All right. Bullet number 2.
Okay.
The entrepreneurial family.
Yes.
So she always asks me when we do things like this, she always says what we're going to talk about. And I always try to not tell her, but sooner or later, we come back around to this topic about how I'm an entrepreneur. That has, I guess, infected you. You've become an entrepreneur. How do things work in a 2 entrepreneur family? And to some extent, it's easier for us because all of our kids are gone.
Correct. That's pretty big, I would say.
If the kids were still at home, it would be a bigger problem.
Yes. Because now we're kind of coaching our children,
Yeah.
our daughter and son-in-law, he owns his own business. He's about to close his business and open up another business. And just from that aspect, you kind of coaching Eric, me kind of coaching Casey on the side of
on how to be the spouse of an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And which is very different. Right?
Yes.
And something I like. I mean, I'm
and they have kids, young children.
Big credit to you, right? And we've kind of joked about this a lot, that the wife of an entrepreneur just has to be okay with calling and saying, hey, eggs are on sale this week. Can I get 2 dozen, or do I only need to get 1?
There are ups and downs.
There are ups and downs, that's for sure. And so
you have to go with that flow.
So for somebody like our daughter and her husband, right, there's the coaching that goes along with being the business owner, but then you've done a lot of work with her to say, hey, it's different circumstances than him being an employee.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, because she's enjoyed the flexibility of him having his own business.
Right.
But now that they're winding down a business and starting another, she's also seen kind of the ups and downs and the stressors of it too. And so just walking her through some of that has been.
flexibility when the business is going well.
Right.
Flexibility is good. When business is not going well, it's called instability.
Right.
Right. And hence the egg question. Right.
Right.
You know, do I need to cut back on that? And this kind of leads into the third bullet here too, which is one of the 9 critical performance areas for a business owners is the support system that you have. We've done it both ways, where I told you nothing about what was going on in the business.
Yes.
And where we were in business together.
True. Yes, we've been on.
We've tried it just about every which way I guess you can. What would your preference be?
I actually enjoyed being in business together. I did not like being on the, in the dark side.
Yeah. I know
that wasn't very comforting.
And this is conversations I've had with close family members recently and encourage you to have, but sometimes it's I looked at it actually as helping you by not telling you everything that was going on and just trying to deal with that. The thing that I come back to and what I share with many of my coaching clients when we're talking about support and having a spouse that's supporting of what they do is the line that I got from Mark Hudgens, a pastor in church where he used to attend. And when he would do a wedding, one of the things that he would say to the new couple is that now your burdens are cut in half and your joys are doubled, right? And that comes back to me. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to bear all of this burden and I've got somebody that can help me if I just choose to do that, right? So that would be my encouragement to you business owners. If you're not doing so, lean on that support. I mean, it's there for a reason. Now, to make that effective, though, the spouse, be they male or female, has to respond appropriately, right? How do you respond appropriately when, hey, I need you to share some burdens with me, okay?
Yeah, the first question is, well, where are the joys? No, it's not. Usually what I try to do is ask you what you need from me. Like, what can I do? How can I help? And even sometimes give me examples,
Yeah.
And sometimes it is, only buy 1 dozen eggs this week, not the grocery store or, so, and sometimes just those concrete examples even help get a better perspective of really where is it at, where we're going.
I actually think that,
and what is your plan? I mean,
Yeah.
that too helps me feel better.
Yeah.
What is your plan? Like what?
I actually think it works better. It's going to sound incredibly sexist, but I'll clear this up before I'm done, I promise. It works better, husband entrepreneur, wife support, because women are relational and men are fixers. In your business, if you came to me and said, hey, I just need to talk something out, my brain's going to go to work trying to fix it, right? Whereas if I come to you and say, I just need help talking something out, you can let me do that and not try to fix it.
Right. I just usually listen, or unless you say, what do you think?
And I don't know if you remember this. I'll tell another story on you.
Okay.
There was a time where, a couple of times actually, where the only place we had in our house for me to have an office was in the laundry room. And one time I was in there writing code. It was really cold. I had gloves on. It was that cold. And I had a problem I was trying to figure out. Couldn't figure it out. Called her in there and said, hey, let me walk you through this. I'm trying to fix this problem. And do you remember this? And she said, I don't know what you're doing. I was like, you don't have to know, just listen. And so I started talking, and I said, okay, got it, thanks. And I didn't even have to tell her she could go because it was warm outside. And now, John asked a great question when we were getting started. He asked Vickie how'd you ask that now, John? How did I convince? Yeah, he asked Vickie how I convinced her to marry me. I'll tell my side of the story.
Okay.
So we had met at work. We'd been dating, talking about getting married for a long time. We were both going to school, part-time, working full-time. And for people that don't know, there's a replica of the Parthenon in Nashville, Tennessee. And I guess you were taking Western Civ. And the professor said, if you bring me a receipt, I'll put 5 extra points on your grade. He's like, can we go? And I'm like, sure, yeah, that's fine. We'll go. Drove all the way up to Nashville. And now, because it's in the South, in the lobby of the Parthenon was a Civil War museum. So I was like, why don't you go in there and see the Parthenon? I'll stay out here and look at this. No, you have to go with me. So we got in there. She's dragging me through. Got in there. I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. Ugh. Right? Literally dragging me through the thing, 30 minutes in and out. We're outside. I'm like, well, okay, now we've done that. Now what do you want to do? And she said, you remember what you said?
Yeah.
What did you say?
Why don't we get married?
No, you didn't. Let's go to Gatlinburg for the weekend. Okay. So we went to Gatlinburg. No reservations.
No.
And it happened to be homecoming weekend for the University
UT.
of Tennessee.
Worst weekend ever.
Yeah, nowhere to get a room. So we found a room like 1:00 in the morning. And then she said, well, really, I wanted to come up here to get married. So I'm like, okay, great. So we did. We had to wait till Monday because we didn't get a license or any of that, but we did. Went down to the courthouse, and the preacher was fantastic. He was the court chaplain for the circuit court and whatever, I guess Sevier County. And he said, how formal do you kids want this to be? And I said, well, we've both been married before, so it doesn't have to be formal. And he looked at me and said, okay, do you? And I said, I do. And he looked at her and said, do you? And she said, I do. And he's like, okay, you are. And been over and signed the certificate. So anyway, that's how she did it, John. She tricked me. She got me in the car and then wouldn't let me out. So if she'd been smart, she would have taken me through one of those drive-through wedding chapels up there.
How many years ago?
This is 29 years in November. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah, that's what I say all the time. Wow, she's still here. All right. Fourth bullet, entrepreneurial cities. You know, and Huntsville just got listed on one of the top 3 cities, best bang for your buck, mid-sized city, something like that. It was Ogden, Utah, somewhere in Idaho, and Huntsville. So 2, really cold places and here. So we ought to win that one. But this story is on entrepreneur.com this week. What did they title this? The 15 most entrepreneurial cities in the U.S. And they judge this based on the number of self-employed or business owners that are in these metros, and then they divide it into small and mid-size. Unfortunately, Huntsville's not on either list. But here was the interesting thing that I wanted to point out. This is the mid-size metros, and this is just the states they're from. Florida, California, Texas, North Carolina, Florida, Maryland, Texas, Florida, Connecticut, California, Florida, Maine, and North Carolina. huge portion of those in the South. And I make jokes about it being, too cold to be innovative up north. But there's definitely something to this. And, we've moved around quite a bit, lived in a couple of different places, not anywhere where it was stupid cold. Just because I've been there, done that, and my bones still hurt. How big of an influence do you think it is to have a community of entrepreneurs around versus just being the lone sentinel in the forest?
Well, I think you can definitely get support from others, and if your community is supportive of that entrepreneurial spirit,
Yeah.
Which I think our city is quite a bit, then I think you just have a better chance of success,
Well, it kind of comes back to the support thing that we were talking about, right? If you have the support from your spouse, from your family, from the people around you. And one of the things I say frequently is that entrepreneurs see the world differently, right? We're more likely to see opportunity where other people see obstacles. And so as a result, the more entrepreneurs I have around me, the more I don't feel like I'm, Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That maybe I'm not crazy, because if, they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Well, if the other 5 people all have jobs and you're the only entrepreneur, you're not getting that support.
Right.
So we look at these like Naples, Florida is number 1 on the mid-sized metro. They have 18% business ownership. Barnstable Town, Massachusetts is number 1 on the small metros with 21%. So in both cases, roughly 20%. So out of that group of 5, one of you is going to be an entrepreneur in those cities. And I do think that's important. All right. I teased this a few minutes ago. Our 5th bullet here is a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, how you've been poisoned by hanging out with me for so long. We were in a business together. And then as we got out of that, as we exited out of that, you went back to work, still have a day job. Fortunately, the way it works out, work, 3 or 4 days a week, which gives you a lot of time to work on something else. And you came to me with this idea about the health coaching. So why was that? What influenced you to say, I want to do something more than just have days off?
Because I felt like I could help like women. That's my target market is women my age. Just see it a lot.
Yeah.
And I went through a long period of trying to figure out like my health and how we transition, and I'm still learning and researching, and what I'm doing right now, just trying to figure out, how we do this and be healthy and get into the later years of our life so that we can still be active and,
Do you think about it as being an entrepreneur, or is it just?
I really don't. I don't know. I just know I want to coach and help other women and help them and teach them what I've learned, and so that they don't have to go through a lot of what I've been trying to go through, and all the research and
Now,
information and
I'll say that Vickie is a great example of how you can segment a product to a market, right? And I talk about this all the time. Find a market that you want to serve, find a problem that they have, then bring a solution to that market. Much better than having to convince them that they have a problem. The system that you are using, that you're coaching with, is developed by somebody else, but you've taken that, niched it down into women in a particular stage of life, and that's the market that you want to serve.
Right.
And by changing your language, instead of the more broad language that the program uses, you're able to focus that down on the niche that you want to work with. And I'm a great example of that. It's how I maintain my boyish figure, because she feeds me this stuff all the time. It really, it's good. I mean, it's smart. We talk, I mean, in the threads model of a happy, healthy, balanced life that I teach for business owners, the H is health, right?
Yeah.
And your health is made up of nutrition, hydration, rest, and exercise, right? And so it does you no good to build $1 billion business, not be able to walk across a parking lot. Although I guess if you had $1 billion business, you could hire somebody to carry you across the parking lot.
Well, you won't enjoy it very long.
You won't enjoy it, but yeah. And then, of course, to find out more about what you're doing, VickieRigsby.com.
Yep.
The website. Appreciate you being here to do this.
You're welcome.
So we're at the end of the 5 bullets. I told her, and I mean, we're just kind of practicing. We're kind of figuring this out. But 30 to 40 minutes seems about right. So this is probably what we'll shoot for as we go forward. Next week on 5 Bullet Friday, my good and excited friend Jesse Mogul is going to be here.
It might be a little longer.
It might be a smidge longer than 30 to 40 minutes next week. He and I talk. He lives in LA. We talk every Tuesday night for an hour and a half, 2 hours. We can get on the roll. We can go for a while. He's a life coach, and so a lot of these topics will really resonate with him as well. Before we go, 2 things I want to remind you of. One, I have my 30-minute guarantee, and I would encourage anybody who watches live or on the replay to take advantage of that. I don't even think I've told you that I've done this. Put a page up on the website and go to tomrigsby.com/stump, STUMP, so you can try and stump the coach, right? If I can't come up with a plan to get you back on track within 30 minutes, you get a month's worth of coaching for free.
What?
I know, right? That's an amazing deal. 30 minutes or a month's worth for free. So head over there, fill that form out, tomrigsby.com/stump. The last thing I want to leave us with, I'm going to try and end all of these with a word of inspiration. Quote of the day today. This one comes from Carl Bard. I have no idea who Carl is, but I like the quote. By the way, speaking of quotes of the day, we were watching a video today before I left to come down here to the station, and the guy quoted me.
And didn't give you
didn't
credit.
Give me attribution for it.
And then I listened to one of your, was that a quote that you said? Or maybe something you said on one of your, about, not having a market for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And I debunked that.
Well, we'll cover that in another episode. All right. Quote of the day today. Though no man can go back and make a brand new start, anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending. So
that is a good one.
You know, I forget where I heard this the first time. You can be 1,000,000 miles off course, but all it takes is a course adjustment to be back on course. I mean, you don't have to go all the way back to the beginning to start over and get back on track. You just have to turn left or right or whatever the adjustment is to be back on course. So no matter what got you here, here's where you have to take the next step from. Just be smart about how you do that. That's it for this inaugural installment of 5 Bullet Friday.